Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Thank you for joining me on the Rams Green Bay Packers NFC Divisional Round Tavon Austin Revenge Game preview. If you are not a subscriber, if you're a Rams fan, you're watching this for the first time or the third time and didn't commit before, please hit that subscribe button. Really trying to grow the channel, and this is a great place for Rams content on YouTube. There's just a couple places, but this is the place. You can also find me on my social channels, link in the description below. Now, I also realized that like half the people that watch my videos aren't subscribers, and I don't think it's just because it's all the other team fans, but anyways, the Rams lead this series 47-46 and 2 ties. So the Rams actually have a winning record all time versus the Packers, and I guess it was 46-46 and 2 until the Ty Montgomery fumble game in 2018 that we remember so well. So yeah, we have a leg up on that, and I don't want it to go back to an even tie. So let's get this game right here. And I just gotta say right off the top that this is a nice feeling. Now, Rams fans, I know, so we have a very talented team, especially on the defensive side, and I think the sky's the limit almost if we play clean football. But the fact that we've already won a game and we're in the playoffs, I almost feel like we're playing with house money. And if you're a longtime Rams fan, then you know that this is not the norm. But it also makes you appreciate Sean McVay and everything that's happened since his arrival. This is the third time in the playoffs in 4 years. The Rams have, what now, 3 playoff wins. So let's make it 4 right here. Also, just want to let you know that I'm going to have a couple collaborations with Packers channels this week, so I'll let you know and keep you informed on that. This is actually part 1 of my game preview leading up to the game on Saturday. So I kind of want to split it up in two portions because there's just a lot to talk about. So on the injury front, today is a Tuesday, so we don't really have any updates to the injury report, but coming off of last game, obviously, Aaron Donald has torn rib cartilage. He's day-to-day but expected to play. Cooper Kupp has knee bursitis. He's day-to-day expected to play. And thank God for both of those guys. I mean, AD, I feel like would be a beast and just like work through it. But at the same time, would he really be 100% AD? I kind of feel like he's like, just give me a shot right there and I'm going to go out and just destroy people. And speaking of destroying people, like Mike Iupati, seriously, like Mike Iupati is a huge, big man, and Aaron Donald just manhandled him in the last game. In fact, I was thinking he went through Mike Iupati like a turnstile, but I've seen actual turnstiles stop people and slow them down more than Mike Iupati did to Aaron Donald. But both AD and Kupp are expected to play. Wolford's got the stinger, the neck stinger. He's day to day, and thank God, because I mean, that was a brutal hit. Jamal Adams, we don't like you. Smoking a cigar, what a cocky guy. Side note on Jamal Adams, 7 of the first 12 passes that the Rams had against Seattle targeted Jamal Adams, and 4 of those 7 receptions were caught, or those targets were caught, and accounted for 7 to 8 yards. So kind of like how the Rams did a couple of years ago against Minnesota, and we targeted Anthony Barr, the linebacker, in coverage. The Rams targeted Jamal Adams, and they kept him from rushing in. They put him in coverage, and they went after him because that is his weak spot, especially with 2 bump shoulders. So Jamal Adams, that one was for you. So going back to John Wolford, hopefully he's able to play in this game. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I mean, it's kind of crazy taking that hit and playing the next week. He was in the ambulance, went to the hospital for precautionary, came back to the clubhouse, was hanging out with the team afterwards. So there's that. And then David Edwards, the left guard, he left the game with Achilles tendonitis. So I'm not sure what his update will be, what his status will be, but Bobby Evans filled in for him. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on with these injuries, and and also Goff with a thumb, and he said he didn't feel any pain, but it obviously was swollen. So I know that in the temperature, getting those reps and making those throws, and just a little wear and tear in that, I don't know if that set him back a little bit, or if the healing process is just picking up where it left off, and going into this game his thumb will be like 5, 6, 7 days healed, So we'll see about that. Now, the Packers are 6.5, 7-point favorites. I don't know what the line is at, but that was what last time I checked. So obviously they're favored by around a touchdown. 6,000 tickets have been sold for this game. That's the max, and it's sold out. So there will be fans at this game, which obviously home field advantage. You saw that Buffalo game. I don't know how many people were at the Buffalo game, but maybe around 6,000 people as well. So that definitely was a vibe there. And Green Bay, it's going to be a cold one. It's going to be a cold one. It's going to be, you know, high of 31, low of 17, 19. So let's just say in the middle of 25 or so. Could get down, you know, sub 20. So, I mean, it literally will be freezing. So there isn't that much precipitation on the forecast. So probably no snow, but who knows. And Goff, he's 1-1 in sub 30-degree games in his career with the Rams. You go back to 2018 against Denver. The Rams won, I think, 23-20, and he threw for 174 yards, 14 of 28, and with no touchdowns, 1 interception. That sounds familiar. With a 59 passer rating. And then at Chicago, how can we forget the infamous Chicago meltdown game? He was 21 for 45. Why was he throwing the ball 45 times? I don't know. But he threw for 162 yards, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and had a passer rating of 21.3. So all in all, he's 0 for with touchdowns, 5 interceptions in games under 30 degrees. And I mean, like, it's a very small sample size, but the Rams have historically not played and fared well in cold weather games. So I am legitimately concerned about that. You cannot brush this off. You can't say it's not nothing, even though the Rams have guys on their team that went to cold weather schools. So it's not like they've never been in the snow or never been in cold weather. I mean, people are from the East Coast and the Midwest, the northern Midwest, or even the North. So it's like, you know, this isn't new for people, but, you know, I think teams kind of have an identity when you play, you know, 4 or 5 games a year in cold weather. So that's a real deal. And I think that's a factor going into what I'm going to talk about with the QB conversation going into this game. And that's really the crux of it all right now. And I feel like, you know, there are 3 teams that kind of went through a quarterback controversy / crisis this year. One was the Bears with Trubisky and Foles. Now, the Bears were a little in a unique situation because they didn't give Trubisky pick up his 5th-year option. They didn't extend him before they needed to. So when they benched him in favor of Foles, and he wasn't playing terrible when they benched him, but when they benched him instead of for Foles, there's no real damage that could be done because he's gonzo after this year unless they bring him back, because he did have a nice late season surge. So the dynamic was different with Trubisky, but with Carson Wentz and with Jared Goff, this is where it gets tricky because they're under contract for a long time with a lot of money owed. So how do you go about this, right? Sean McVay in the game against Seattle had his out. He finally had his out with Jared Goff. The thumb thing. It was all about the thumb coverage in terms of how do I switch from Goff to Wolford in a game where, you know, like the Arizona game, that was obvious. Like Jared Goff was not playing in that game. But, you know, McVay hasn't trusted Goff really at all this year. The whole offense has been built around putting Goff in the best position possible to succeed. And he's turned the ball over like crazy. And Goff does not have much trust in him. That's why they don't take shots downfield. That's why the whole offense has been switched around to the small, short yardage, yards after catch plays. How many 3rd down and longs do they just do screen passes? Because he doesn't trust Goff to throw the ball 15, 20 yards down the field on a regular basis and avoid turnovers. This is something I've said before. Now listen, I do support Goff. I do think that he's still a viable NFL quarterback. And I think that, you know, look at what he did with Seattle. That was a solid win. That was a solid game by Goff. But he's not spectacular. This isn't 2018 or 2017 Goff anymore. And, you know, he can still win games for the Rams. If he starts this week, I think he does have a chance to play well. But the cold weather thing and some other things I'm going to talk about really have been swaying my opinion. I've kind of backed Goff up a lot. I'm not a Goff hater. I'm not anti-Goff. But the more I think about this, the more I process it, and I think about what Sean McVay is thinking about, and that's someone I trust. So I'm going to just paint this full picture. So he hasn't really trusted Goff much this season with the play calling. Called him out after the 49ers game, the second 49ers game, because he was clearly upset. He said our quarterback has to do a better job taking care of the ball. And it was the first time that had ever come out, really, when he pointed his frustration at Jared Goff. And essentially what that game in Seattle came down to was Jared Goff was physically okay enough to play in that game and to start that game, and Sean McVay made up his mind before he could see any of them really practice and throw a ball to go with Wolford. So he made that decision Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, informed the team before those guys went out and did drills and threw the ball. Before he knew if you really were on the fence, you'd wait till Friday to see how the thumb is feeling, right? You'd give Goff every last chance and every last minute and second and hour to see how that thumb is responding. If he's really 100% your guy, like if it's Aaron Rodgers in that situation, you're taking it down to the wire to see how his thumb is. And if his thumb is as good as Goff, if Aaron Rodgers was on the Rams and John Wolford was the backup and Aaron Rodgers had the same thumb injury that Goff had, and it was at the same, it had progressed, it was at the same point of healing that Goff's was going into the Seattle game, Aaron Rodgers is starting. 100%. So Sean McVay made the decision to go with John Wolford without even knowing how Jared Goff's thumb really was. He had his mind made up because the thumb injury gave Sean McVay the perfect out. So he tells the team Tuesday night, Wednesday, that Goff is going to start. Goff was not happy about it. Even Jordan Rodriguez, she said, and I can't remember what day in the week, during a Zoom interview, she asked Sean McVay to blink twice if Goff is going to start, and he leaned towards the camera, opened his eyes really wide, and didn't blink. And she thought at the time, he's just being goofy and funny. But then after the fact, she's like, wow, he was actually telling me. He was actually saying it with his eyes. It's always in the eyes. So all of these factors lead up, and then you only have two quarterbacks on the active roster. When I think they did have an extra roster spot available, they put Raymond Calais on the IR. Or I think, was it on the IR? Or they deactivated him? They had an open spot. Bortles could have been there. Bryce Perkins could have been there. If Goff's thumb really was jacked to the point where it's 50-50, if he can even play or grip a ball or anything, if they were truly, really concerned, they would not only have two active quarterbacks on that roster, because McVay's thinking, well, I really have two healthy quarterbacks, so I'm not going to go through both of them, right? What are the odds of having to go through both of my starting quarterbacks? So the fact that they had an open spot but didn't use it, also the fact that he called a quarterback sneak with Jared Goff. He's got the ball. I mean, who knows? They could be trying to punch the ball out of his hand and injure his thumb. If you've got someone's thumb that's delicate and barely hanging on, you're not calling a quarterback sneak. You're giving it to the running back, right? Now, I'm not saying that his thumb was not hurting or swollen or compromised in any way, but all of these things. This is kind of like just a wear and tear of the football season. And then afterwards, during the press conference, after the game, Goff said right off the bat, I want to get this out of the way. My thumb was fine. My thumb is fine. There's no pain. And he says this, and I'm reading between the lines, but he's saying this because he wants people to know that his thumb was not an issue and he was benched. That's what he's trying to say. And I think you can also take it in this way, that a lot of players in all kinds of sports, they never want to blame poor performance on an injury. They never want to have an excuse like that when, injuries are affecting everyone's play, but they don't really talk about it until the next season when last year I was really dealing with this thing and it affected blah, blah, blah. But Goff came out and said that. And he said that because he was pissed And now I'm really seeing this fire of Goff, this kind of entitlement, ego-driven fire of Goff. You never really see Goff bringing that, or kind of, I don't know, he wasn't negative, but I guess you never really see Goff being outspoken in those ways. So, at the end of the day, both quarterbacks were healthy enough to play, and McVay thought Wolford was the better play. That's the bottom line. And now McVay has, what do you do now? Now that Goff has played in a game, he played fairly well. No turnovers, which I think at this point is really just the bar. Like, if he doesn't turn the ball over one time, then that's an amazing performance. So, if Goff doesn't start this week, then it's a benching. Starting Wolford against Green Bay is a benching of Goff. It's not about the thumb anymore. He can play, especially giving him another week after that game to heal the thumb. What is that now going to be? Like 19, 20 days after the surgery, which is still a short amount of time. I'm not saying that his thumb is A-okay, but, you know, Goff, you have to think about Goff's ego. Look what happened to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz melted down. He wants out of there. It's a thing. Now, Jared Goff, I always thought Jared Goff was more mature than Carson Wentz, and I still do think he is, and more of a pro in terms of handling things, but essentially, they start Wolford. They're telling Goff, hey, we're paying you $35 million, and we're playing in the most important game of the season, and we're going to go with your backup. That's what's going on. So I know you always want to give, you want to go to the opportunity that gives you the best chance to win, the player with the best chance to win, but there are consequences of doing so. If Goff's contract was up after the season, or he had one more year and dead cap wasn't that big next year, I guarantee you Wolford is playing this week, and it's already announced. The fact that McVay's still playing coy, and I don't know when he's going to announce this, but you know, at the same time, a lot of quarterbacks, they forget that they still have to compete for their job. And Goff kind of feels like he's entitled to start just because he's the start. He has been the starting quarterback. So anyways, a lot of crazy stuff here with the quarterback situation. And if you flip sides, and now I'm talking about Green Bay, if you flip sides and go over to Green Bay, I mean, everything is just Akuna Matata. I totally said that wrong. Everything is Akuna. Why am I spacing out on this? Akuna Matata? I was just singing this with my daughter this morning. Anyways, it's no worries in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. I mean, you go last year, he threw for 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, which is crazy. A down year, he has 4 interceptions. Goff would kill for that. 4,000 yards and a 95 passer rating. That's a down year. That's an all-pro year for Jared Goff. But you go to this year, 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 4K, like almost 4,300 yards, and 121.5 passer rating. Aaron Rodgers is insane this season. Insane. Basically 20 more touchdowns and only 1 more interception. 48 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Can you comprehend that? You put that on the Rams, and they're winning the Super Bowl. I mean, you say that with like 5 different quarterbacks. You put that quarterback on the Rams, and they're winning the Super Bowl. You put Aaron Rodgers on the Rams, they are winning the Super Bowl. Like, it's a no-brainer. He's good. He's still got it. He has still got it, and you know, you look at what happened last year with Rodgers, where you kind of forget about him, and you know, LaFleur comes in, and he brings a lot of his offensive philosophy and play designs that he's accumulated over the years, and he tried to merge that with Mike McCarthy's system because players are already familiar with this. So you kind of you're putting together a couple different things, and it didn't really gel. Even though they went to the NFC title game, conference championship. It didn't really gel, didn't really look right. And then in the offseason, Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur and Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, and Luke Getsy, the QB's coach, they were Zoom calling all the time. And basically they stripped everything away, and they got rid of plays that might have been their favorite that they were afraid to let go. And they just talked about they gave Aaron Rodgers ownership in talking about how these plays and these schemes and these concepts, how he feels about them. And they just basically went around several calls, and they just essentially rebuilt an offense designed specifically for the players and the quarterback, and you're seeing what's happening. So essentially, when you get you customize a car or you go get fitted for golf clubs, that's always better than just buying something off the lot or just getting some golf clubs off the rack. Like, you get something that actually fits you, and you're probably going to play better. You're going to enjoy your car more, and that's what they did. And they're in a good way. They're really in a good way, and they're humming along. And part of that is also because Aaron Rodgers gets great pass protection. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous how good his O-line has been playing this year. Essentially, the pass block win rate is first, and that's 74% of the time. Their pass blocking is winning their matchup. So the entire line, from left to right, is playing at a high level. Now, the Rams are 9th in pass rush win rate. So we'll see how that goes. They haven't played against anyone like Aaron Donald, but their top 3, they have 3 tackles that are ranked in the top 10 in terms of pass block win rate. Billy Turner, he's 3rd. David Bakhtiari is 6th, who's out for the year, tore his ACL recently, and Rick Wagner is 8th. So you're going to see Billy Turner move to the left tackle and Rick Wagner to the right tackle position. And both those guys have played exceptionally well, so it's not like David Bakhtiari goes down and you just get a practice squad guy, right? You know, just like when Andrew Whitworth went out, Joe Noteboom filled in admirably. He wasn't the same as Whitworth, but still, he held it down fairly well. So there's not a huge drop-off when it comes to who's playing at the tackle positions. Then their right guard, Lucas Patrick, he was 6th. Elgton Jenkins was 9th, and Corey Linsley, their center, was 5th, or is 5th among all centers. So their offensive line is tough, and whenever the Rams have played against really good offensive lines, they tend not to get a lot of sacks or pressure. So we'll see. I mean, I really do think that for both sides, this game's going to be the trenches just like last week. So last week I thought the Rams, it was all up to their offensive line creating holes for Cam Akers. It's going to come down to the same thing because the Packers' defensive line is good, but it's not. The Seahawks had a way better line coming into this game and defensive line coming into that game. And so I feel like, I mean, my key to success I'll get to in a second, but it's really going to come down to, obviously winning your matchups from the pass rush standpoint and also on the offensive line for the Rams. And speaking of pass blocking and Aaron Rodgers, I mean, they have Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. They have it's just a symphony of amazing players. They have the #1 scoring offense at 31.8 points per game, and they're #1 in points this year at 509, touchdowns at 66, time of possession 32.5 minutes a game, and they are I think first in red zone efficiency, 80%, and then also in third down efficiency, they're second at 49%. So, I mean, they're just firing on all cylinders. I mean, a lot of people want to dismiss Green Bay because you think of them as a finesse team. No team that goes 13-3 and plays football is a finesse team, really. So, they won the NFC, or they were the top seed for a reason. Their offense is really good. I don't care who you're playing, you still got to play. The Rams lost to the Jets, so you can't say, oh, they've had an easy schedule or this or that. You still got to beat the teams. You still got to perform, and you got to put up the points. And this is going to be where the rubber meets the road because the Rams are #1 in scoring defense at 18.5 points. So 31.5 points for the Packers, 18.5 points allowed for the Rams. Something's gotta give. And speaking of the prolific offense, Devontae Adams is just ridiculous. He has 18 touchdowns this year. However, the Rams defense has allowed 17 passing touchdowns this year. So, this is strength on strength, and Jalen Ramsey going against Devontae Adams is going to be, this is the best receiver, and in my opinion, going against the best cornerback. And Jalen Ramsey has pretty much shut down all receivers he's gone against this year. DK twice, Hopkins twice, Allen Robinson, Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper, and I'm probably missing someone, but there you go. I think Devontae Adams might get some, but he's not going off. He's not going off. I mean, they might try and motion him out and try and match him up against Darius Williams or Troy Hill. That's what I would do. But we've also seen Darius Williams step up, and we've also seen Troy Hill step up. So that's going to be a really good game of cat and mouse, but I can't wait to see the Jalen. It's like when you're watching Rams on defense, it's like I'm keeping one eyeball on Aaron Rodgers and one eyeball on Jalen Ramsey, and I'm just, you know, cross-eyed by the end of it, but it's going to be great. And then just one other guy I want to talk about, and that is Matt Gay. Now, on my live stream before, I mentioned we need to have a nickname for Matt Gay, and everyone had a bunch of really good nicknames, but the best one I like is just, it's very simple. It's about field goals. It's Matt Trey, right? Matt Trey. Why not? So if you have any ideas for a Matt Gay nickname, shoot him out there. I think he's had 30 points in the last like 3 weeks or something like that. So Matt Gay has really been, you take extra points into account for that. But I mean, talk about the steal of the year. Thank God for Matt Gay. Now, there's a lot more I'd like to talk about. I'm going to watch a lot of Packers highlights and a lot of Packers film before my next video, which will probably come out Thursday, so 2 days from now. And I'm going to talk about some more matchups, keys of the game. But what we want to watch for as the week progresses is obviously injury news. Will McVay name a starter? And yeah, and as you know, going into the Green Bay game, I personally feel as of right now, if you're going to go in a cold weather game and your quarterback, Goff, really hasn't played well in cold weather games, he still has kind of a broken thumb with pins in there, cold weather, I want to run the ball, I want to play defense. And I think John Wolford will give me a better chance of, because he's going to run and make plays off script. You have Cam Akers. If the offensive line can open up holes, if Wolford doesn't make mistakes, I think Wolford's the safer, easier, better play than Jared Goff at this point. I've been all over the fence on these things, but I'm starting to find myself. But anyways, yeah, that's it for this one. I will keep you guys posted on the collaborations that will be happening the next couple days. But yeah, I'm just really jacked for this game. I'm so stoked that we're watching football into January as Rams fans. Matt Gay, you can cue the music. And yeah, let me know what you think so far of this game. Packers fans, I just want to say, I've always kind of liked the Packers because of Brett Favre. So I really don't have any ill will against the Packers, but there you go. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Watch another video. Let me know what you think. Like the video. All of that jazz. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, go Rams. Didn't see that. Didn't see that. Ooh. There we go.